everyone, Jexie here. Welcome back to another video. So in today's video, I thought I'd talk a little bit about how recovery can be helpful for people who aren't addicts too. A lot of the things that we learn in recovery can really be beneficial to anybody, whether you have a drug problem or not. So I thought I'd name a few of those things and discuss how, even if you're not an addict, perhaps recovery can be a useful tool for you. So I actually have a series of these videos all written out because there's really a whole lot of ways in which recovery can be useful even for someone who's not an addict. But I thought I'd just kind of give an overview of this topic and see if you guys are interested in it before I start putting out a whole bunch in the series. So the first thing that I thought is really useful that we learn in recovery, like number one, is networking. Recovery is all about meeting new people, not being afraid to pick up the phone, reaching out when we need to. And I know in a lot of areas, especially in the business world, it's all about networking. We learn that, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And so when looking for a job, when trying to get advancements, it's really networking is a huge part in being successful in a career pattern, in your career. It's also very successful in a lot of other areas. So in recovery, we're essentially taught how to network in a way that is way less stressful that can transfer over into our regular everyday lives. We're taught to give out our phone numbers regularly to other people and to answer calls from people we may not know super well and get to know them. I've seen people in recovery help others get jobs, help others with big problems. They share their experience with each other and are able to guide a person in a direction that is usually helpful. Recovering addicts are great at sharing their experience with others to help them grow. And it's often really, really hard to reach out to somebody, to ask somebody to, introduce you to somebody else or to help you along. And recovery gives us a lot of practice in that. And so when we get out into the real world, networking is not really as difficult as it would be for somebody who's never had to do it before. So number one, the reason that I think recovery can be useful for non-addicts is networking. Number two, the second reason I think a recovery program can be helpful even for non-addicts is peer support. This goes very close to the networking idea. Peer support in regards to the fact that we are able to reach out for help whenever we need it for whatever circumstance. So because we're very open and accepting of each other, we share a lot about what we're going through. So if I'm going through something hard in life, I generally know other people in recovery who have been through the same types of hardships, and I can reach out to them and ask them for support. Just knowing that someone's walked that path before you and gotten through to the other side can be hugely helpful in life. Sometimes we don't want to be vulnerable in front of other people, and so when we're really struggling, we tend to close ourselves off. In recovery, we're taught the opposite. We're taught that the more we struggle, the more we need to talk about it. And it's really been a good practice for getting through really hard stuff. I know for myself, like I've gone through moving and divorce and deaths and, really, really difficult subjects that I don't really like talking about. But in recovery, I've learned that it's okay to sit and cry to somebody if I have to. It's okay to say, I don't know what to do. I need help. And I feel like non-addicts go through this too. We all need friends. We all need a support system. So finding good peer support, good friends, people you can reach out to is going to be a really big benefit whether you're in recovery or not. So that's the number two reason on why I think recovery can be helpful even to non-addicts. Number three, which I broke up into two different parts. It's becoming a better person. And I broke up this in two categories, although we can probably break up becoming a better person into a whole ton of categories. But I broke this up into two. It's one, learning from our mistakes, and two, learning how to better communicate with others. So learning from our mistakes, one of the things that we learn in recovery is that Everybody makes mistakes. And I mean, really, any person learns that young when they're in school. Mistakes are a part of life. But what has been really helpful in recovery is learning how to not make the same mistakes. There's a quote that many of you have heard, and fun fact, the first time this quote that I'm about to tell you was written was actually in a Narcotics Anonymous book, which is crazy because we use it all the time. But the quote is, insanity is making the same mistakes over and over again, expecting different results. We use that quote in everyday life all the time, but that's an addict quote, which is, I know, crazy. Most people have no idea that it's accredited to Narcotics Anonymous. Look it up. You'll see. Um, but yeah, so that's exactly it. We're in recovery, we're taught that we can continue to make mistakes, but we never try to make the same mistakes. We take every situation, we talk it through, and we learn our part, and we see how we can grow. So, although mistakes are part of life, recovery teaches us how to recognize those mistakes and learn from them. Also, in regards to becoming better people, about recovery teaches us how to communicate better in a variety of ways. We've already talked about how recovery has us reach out to strangers, call people we don't know, to try and build our network. Recovery is all about communicating with people who you may not be familiar with. Depending on what recovery program you're in, you may be asked to share really personal stuff with people who you don't really know that well. It helps us communicate when we're vulnerable. When we're able to share our vulnerability with others, we tend to have better communication overall. We're not putting up a front to try to pretend we're somebody we're not, so communication becomes a lot easier. It also, part of recovery is learning how to listen to other people and listen to what they're saying, which in turn makes communication much better. I'm not just waiting for you to be done talking so I can tell you what I think. I've actually learned how to listen to your perspective, take in what you're saying, think about it, consider it. Do I have something to gain from that? Does it change my mind at all? And then I can respond. There's nothing wrong with changing our minds on things. It's part of growth. That's how we learn. Sticking to your ways when presented with better information is not a sign of, being consistent or something. It just means that your ego is getting in the way of admitting that perhaps you're mistaken. Nobody's right all the time. And information changes, especially in the field of addiction. So something I say that could be completely accurate right now, in 6 months may no longer be accurate. We have to be willing to grow. We have to be able to learn to listen and to communicate with each other. And especially with what I'm doing on this channel, how am I supposed to reach people and share a message of hope if I haven't learned how to two-way communicate? I don't just want to talk at people. I can't just tell people what to do. That's not how recovery works. I share my experience and then I listen in the comments when you guys share yours. We have a conversation. So I think that is a really great thing to learn, regardless of whether you're in recovery or not. In fact, people go to college for speaking classes to learn just those things. So becoming better people is the number 3 reason why I think recovery is good for even non-addicts. My number 4 reason is learning to take responsibility. One of the biggest things that we learn in recovery is that we're responsible for our own actions. We are responsible for how we respond to outside situations. I know that I can't control other people, places, or things, but I can control how I respond to it. I may think something that person does is awful, but how I respond is my responsibility. For example, I was catching up on some comments today in my videos, and I read this one really awful, awful comment, and they said that I plagiarized something, and I don't know if they have me mixed up with someone else or they're just saying crazy things because, as you guys know, I'm like super crazy about crediting sources whenever I take anything, and I had no idea what this person was talking about, like not a clue. But when I responded, I had an opportunity. It made me upset. I was on the phone with my boyfriend. He's like, you should, and he was all worked up because it was really cruel. But I didn't respond that way. I took responsibility and said, you know what? Other people are going to look at this. Now, I could have deleted the comment, but what I wanted to show is an example of how we can respond to things, even if they're negative, without being negative. So I responded to this comment and I said, you know, I'm sorry. I really don't know what you're talking about. But if I did do harm to you in some way, I would love to talk more about it so I can make it right. I have no idea what I did to this person. I may not have done anything, you know, but the fact is we have to take responsibility for when we could have done wrong. Just making excuses for bad behavior and saying like, nope, not my problem, or no, I didn't do that, it's all in your head, or whatever. It's not helpful. That's not how we grow. So by learning to take responsibility for ourselves, we constantly grow as people, which gains us more respect. And respect is a huge thing that's necessary in the workplace. So that was number 4. My number 5 reason, and my last reason for why I think recovery is beneficial for even those who are not addicts, is learning to have faith. One of the things that most recovery programs teach, and not all, because some are religious-based, but the ones that aren't religious-based, that are spiritual-based, what they teach us is how to have faith regardless of what our feelings on religion are. They teach us to just have faith that we have help in our lives, that we're loved, that we're cared about, and that we can get through things a day at a time. We don't have to believe in a specific God or a specific higher power. That's not faith. It could be for you, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is just having faith that things will be okay. Having faith that you have people in your life that love you no matter what. Faith that no matter what happens, you're not the first, the last, or the only person to go through it. And that there's people out there who will carry you through it. We can all be there for each other, and having faith that if we just look in the right places, we can get help is a huge relief. And something that can be beneficial whether you're trying to not use drugs or you're trying to get through a hard day. Sometimes just having faith that tomorrow will be a better day changes our perspective on life, period. If you didn't have faith that tomorrow would be a good day after having the hardest day of your life, I mean, I can't imagine that feeling. But if you go to sleep at night and you have faith that tomorrow is going to be a better day, I mean, that gives us hope. Hope helps us move forward. So having faith, I think, is important no matter what you have faith in. But having faith, I think, is a huge part of getting through life in general. So that's my number 5, my 5th reason on why I think recovery can be beneficial even for non-addicts. So I hope you guys like this video. Again, I have a whole series of these written up where I break these types of things down into relationships and finances and careers and with your kids, and I have a whole series written about how we can take, and they're all done like this, with 5 reasons on why things could be, recovery topics can be useful even to non-addicts. So I would love to hear your opinion on this. Was this helpful? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Be honest. It's not going to hurt my feelings. I mean, of course, I'm not going to like it if you hate it, but I want to know how you feel. Thank you guys so much for all your support. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you subscribe and hit the notification bell, you'll know when I upload new videos, which I do every Tuesday and Friday, unless there's a disaster, which sometimes happens. And my goal is to do live stream Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every week, though lately I've been having technical difficulties with Streamlabs, so who knows. You can also, in the description, there's a whole bunch of links to resources for recovery. If you ever need additional help and support, they're there. There's also links to join my Patreon and support this channel if you believe in the message I'm trying to put out and you want to help in any way. I appreciate all of you for watching, and I hope you guys have a super, super awesome day. Thanks, everyone. Bye.